What if everything you've been told about healthy aging is actually keeping you weak, dependent, and sick? I'm 90 years old, and I'm about to share the 5 controversial daily habits that doctors initially warned me against, but now science proves can add decades of vibrant life to your years. Most shocking of all, the third one was labeled dangerous by my first physician 20 years ago, yet it's the single practice that saved my cardiovascular system and keeps my heart stronger than people half my age. 3 months ago, Beatrice walked into her doctor's office for her annual checkup at age 90. Her physician stared at the results in disbelief. Blood pressure 118/76, cholesterol levels matching those of a healthy 40-year-old, 0 prescription medications. Meanwhile, her daughter, Carol, age 65, takes 5 different pills every morning just to function. The doctor leaned forward and asked the question that changed everything. Beatrice, what exactly are you doing that's so different? Controversial thing. 1. I eat eggs. Every single morning. Yes, with the yolk. For nearly 4 decades, doctors across America told an entire generation that eggs were dangerous, that the cholesterol in those golden yolks would clog our arteries and send us straight to the cardiac unit. Millions of seniors threw away the most nutritious part of the egg, replacing real food with egg white omelets and cholesterol-free substitutes that tasted like cardboard. We followed the rules, trusted the experts, and somehow heart disease kept climbing while we got weaker, and our memories started failing us at alarming rates. Here's what they didn't tell you back then, and what research from Harvard Medical School has now confirmed beyond any doubt. Dietary cholesterol from eggs has virtually no impact on blood cholesterol levels for the vast majority of people. In fact, those yolks contain choline, an essential nutrient that your brain desperately needs to build cell membranes and produce acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter responsible for memory and muscle control. Harvard researchers followed over 200,000 people for more than 3 decades and found that eating 1 egg daily showed no association with heart disease risk in healthy individuals, and the cognitive benefits were undeniable. Vernon, an 87-year-old retired teacher from Ohio, avoided eggs religiously for 30 years after his doctor's stern warning in 1990. His memory started slipping. He forgot his grandchildren's names at family dinners, and his muscle mass deteriorated despite his best efforts. When his new physician reviewed the latest research and suggested adding eggs back to his breakfast routine, Vernon was terrified but desperate enough to try. 2. Within 4 months of eating 2 eggs every morning, his mental clarity improved noticeably. His energy returned, and his quarterly blood work showed his cholesterol levels hadn't budged an inch higher. If you continue avoiding eggs because of outdated advice from the 1980s, you're depriving your brain of one of nature's most complete and bioavailable protein sources right when you need it most. Start tomorrow morning with 1 or 2 eggs prepared however you enjoy them, whether scrambled, boiled, or poached, and give your brain the building blocks it's been begging for. Your memory and muscle strength need this fuel today, not next month. Controversial thing 2. I skip breakfast and don't eat until noon. When I first told my doctor I stopped eating breakfast and didn't consume anything except water and black coffee until noon every day, you should have seen the panic in his eyes. He immediately warned me I'd lose dangerous amounts of muscle mass. My metabolism would crash, my blood sugar would spiral out of control, and I'd probably end up hospitalized within months. The conventional wisdom drummed into every senior's head is that breakfast is the most important meal, that we need to eat small meals throughout the day to keep our metabolism humming, and that skipping meals is practically a death sentence for older adults. The truth, backed by rigorous research from Johns Hopkins Medicine and published in the New England Journal of Medicine, tells a completely different story about intermittent fasting for seniors. When you give your digestive system a proper 12 to 16-hour break from processing food, something remarkable happens at the cellular level called autophagy. which is essentially your body's natural cleaning and recycling system. During this fasting window, your cells break down and remove damaged proteins, reduce inflammation throughout your entire body, and trigger cellular repair mechanisms that slow the aging process itself. Johns Hopkins researchers found that intermittent fasting not only helps maintain healthy weight in older adults, but also improves insulin sensitivity, reduces oxidative stress, and may significantly extend both lifespan and health span. Harriet, an 84-year-old former nurse from Florida, was diagnosed with prediabetes and chronic inflammation that left her joints aching every morning. Her rheumatologist suggested trying a simple 12-hour eating window, finishing dinner by 7 p.m. and not eating again until 7 a.m. the next morning. She gradually extended it to stopping food intake by 6 p.m. and breaking her fast at noon, essentially skipping breakfast entirely. Within 8 weeks, her inflammation markers dropped by nearly 40%. Her joint pain decreased significantly, her blood sugar stabilized, and she lost 12 pounds of stubborn weight without counting a single calorie or feeling deprived. When you eat constantly from the moment you wake up until you go to sleep, your body never gets the signal to shift from storage mode into repair and cleanup mode, and those damaged cells keep accumulating year after year. Try starting tonight with a simple 12-hour overnight fast, eating your last bite by 7 p.m. and not consuming anything except water or black coffee until 7 a.m. tomorrow. Your cells are literally waiting for permission to clean house and repair damage, so give them that gift starting right now. Controversial thing 3. I lift heavy weights, not just take walks. At 90 years old, I lift weights that would genuinely surprise most people. And when I first started this practice at age 70, my physician at the time called it absolutely reckless and irresponsible. The standard advice given to every senior citizen is to stick with gentle walking, maybe some light stretching, perhaps water aerobics if you're feeling adventurous, but under no circumstances should you lift anything heavy or challenge your muscles with real resistance. We're told our bones are too fragile, our balance too poor, our bodies too old to handle the stress of real strength training. The Mayo Clinic's extensive research on resistance training in older adults tells us something radically different and potentially life-changing. Their studies confirm that progressive resistance training, meaning gradually lifting heavier weights over time, is hands down the most effective intervention to prevent and even reverse sarcopenia, which is the age-related muscle loss that steals independence from millions of seniors every year. Mayo Clinic researchers found that adults over 65 who engaged in regular resistance training 2 to 3 times weekly maintained significantly greater muscle mass, bone density, balance, and functional independence compared to those who only did cardiovascular exercise like walking. Even more impressive, seniors who started lifting weights in their 70s and 80s showed measurable increases in muscle strength and size within just 8 to 12 weeks. Stanley, an 88-year-old widower from Texas, could barely carry a bag of groceries from his car to his kitchen without stopping to rest. And his doctor warned him he was headed for assisted living within a year. His grandson, a physical therapist, convinced him to start with simple resistance band exercises twice a week, focusing on squats, rows, and chest presses. Stanley progressed slowly to light dumbbells, then gradually heavier weights over 18 months. Today, he carries his own groceries without assistance, gets up from chairs without using his arms, and maintains complete independence in his own home. Every single day you avoid resistance training, you lose a little more of the muscle mass and bone density you'll desperately need to maintain your independence in the coming years, and that loss accelerates after age 60. Start this week with resistance bands or 2 to 5 pound dumbbells, focusing on simple movements for your legs, back and arms, 2 or 3 times weekly with a day of rest between sessions. Every day without resistance training is another day closer to falls, fractures, and losing the freedom to live life on your own terms. Controversial thing 4. I spend time in the sun without sunscreen. I deliberately get 15 to 20 minutes of direct sun exposure on my bare arms, face and legs several times each week, and I do this strategically without applying sunscreen during that specific window of time. When I mentioned this practice to my dermatologist 5 years ago, she nearly had a heart attack and immediately launched into a lecture about skin cancer, sun damage, and how I was essentially playing Russian roulette with my health. The message beaten into seniors for decades is simple and absolute. Avoid the sun at all costs. Slather on SPF 50 before stepping outside even for 5 minutes. And treat sunshine like a toxic enemy that's trying to kill you. Research from Harvard Health Publishing reveals a critical public health crisis that nobody's talking about. Over 40% of American adults over age 65 are severely deficient in vitamin D, and that deficiency directly contributes to weakened bones, increased fracture risk, compromised immune function, and even depression and cognitive decline. While you can get vitamin D from supplements and certain foods, direct sun exposure on bare skin remains the most efficient and effective way for your body to produce adequate levels of this crucial hormone. Harvard researchers emphasize that brief strategic sun exposure of 15 to 20 minutes on arms and legs, 3 to 4 times weekly during morning or late afternoon hours, provides substantial vitamin D production without significantly increasing skin cancer risk, especially for older adults whose bones desperately need this nutrient. Lorraine, an 82-year-old retired librarian from Oregon, spent years religiously avoiding sunshine after her mother's melanoma diagnosis decades earlier. She took vitamin D supplements sporadically, but never felt quite right, suffering from persistent low mood, frequent infections, and eventually a hip fracture from a minor fall. Her orthopedic surgeon ordered comprehensive blood work and discovered her vitamin D levels were dangerously low at just 18 nanograms per milliliter, well below the minimum healthy range. He prescribed 15 minutes of sensible sun exposure most days, avoiding the burning midday sun. And within 3 months her levels normalized, her mood lifted dramatically, her immune system strengthened, and her bone density measurements improved. If you continue hiding from the sun completely because of fear-based messaging, your bones will keep getting weaker, your immune system more vulnerable, and your risk of depression and cognitive problems will climb steadily higher with each passing year. Step outside for 15 to 20 minutes during morning or late afternoon hours when the sun is less intense. Expose your arms and legs without sunscreen during that brief window, and do this 3 to 4 times weekly. Your bones, immune system, and mental health are literally starving for this free medicine that's waiting just outside your door. Controversial thing 5. I eat full-fat dairy, not low-fat versions. I use real butter on my toast, drink whole milk in my coffee, eat full-fat cheese without guilt, and choose regular yogurt over the fat-free versions that line grocery store shelves. Everything I just described was supposed to give me a heart attack, according to the dietary guidelines that dominated nutritional advice for the past 40 years. We were told that fat, especially saturated fat from animal sources, was public enemy number 1, that it would clog our arteries, spike our cholesterol, and send us to an early grave, so we obediently switched to skim milk, margarine, and low-fat everything. Recent research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition completely upends this long-held belief and reveals that full-fat dairy is actually associated with a lower risk of diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and obesity compared to low-fat versions. Scientists now understand that the fat in dairy products helps your body absorb essential fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K that are critical for bone health, immune function, and cognitive performance. Additionally, the fat content in full-fat dairy provides genuine satiety, meaning you feel satisfied and full after eating, which prevents the constant hunger and snacking that leads to weight gain and blood sugar problems. Researchers found that people who consumed full-fat dairy maintained healthier weights and had better metabolic markers than those who chose low-fat alternatives, which often contain added sugars to compensate for the removed fat. Gerald, an 86-year-old retiree from Michigan, followed low-fat dietary advice religiously for 25 years, drinking skim milk, eating fat-free yogurt, and using margarine spread on everything. Despite his dedication to healthy eating, he constantly felt hungry, snacked throughout the day, gained 30 pounds around his midsection, and developed borderline diabetes. His nutritionist finally suggested switching back to full-fat dairy products to increase satiety and reduce his sugar cravings. Within 6 months of making this single change, Gerald's constant hunger disappeared. He naturally ate less overall, lost 18 pounds without deliberate dieting, and his blood sugar levels stabilized completely. When you eat low-fat or fat-free dairy products, you're consuming foods that have been stripped of their natural nutrients, often loaded with added sugars to make them taste acceptable, and you're left feeling unsatisfied and hungry shortly after eating. Replace your skim milk with whole milk, swap margarine for real butter, choose full-fat yogurt and cheese, and notice how much more satisfied you feel after meals. Stop forcing down fake foods that your body doesn't recognize and give yourself the real, nutrient-dense dairy that nature designed for optimal nourishment. At 90 years old, I'm living proof that questioning outdated conventional wisdom and following current evidence-based research can give you decades of vibrant, independent, high-quality life. I eat eggs with the yolk every morning. I fast until noon, I lift challenging weights twice weekly, I get strategic sun exposure on my skin, and I eat full-fat dairy without guilt. None of these practices are dangerous. All of them are supported by research from the world's leading medical institutions, and together they've allowed me to outlive nearly everyone who called me crazy 20 years ago. Your best years don't have to be behind you, and decline isn't inevitable just because you've passed 60 or 70 or even 80 years old. Which of these 5 controversial habits surprises you most, and which one are you committed to trying first? Drop a comment below and share your biggest takeaway, because I read every single comment, and I genuinely want to hear about your journey towards stronger, healthier aging. If this video changed how you think about what's possible for your health at any age, click that like button right now and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss the next video where I'll reveal the so-called healthy foods that are actually accelerating your aging and stealing your energy. Share this video immediately with someone over 60 who's been told they're too old to make meaningful changes, because they need to see this information today and realize it's never too late to reclaim their vitality and independence.